Hello, and welcome once again to Ark of the Covenant Ministries, the ministry where God's love is demonstrated. My name is Pastor James E. Smith, author of the book God's Love, the Key to Successful Relationships. And we are continuing our series of teachings on chapter 3 entitled What God's Love Is. We're on page 22 at the bottom there where we're talking about unconditional love. And if you want to access the book, you can do so by clicking on the link above there. It's going to carry you to our website where you can go ahead and access the book and continue with us in the teachings. Okay, so let's begin reading there at the bottom of page 22 under unconditional love. It says unconditional love simply means loving someone without condition. In the context of dating or meeting a potential spouse, it is very important to remember this principle. Okay, so let's just stick there for a moment. Unconditional love, what is that? Unconditional love is loving someone without condition. A lot of times when we say we love someone, we have all these reasons why we love the person. They know how to cook, they're beautiful, they're whatever. Loving someone unconditionally means you love that person without condition, for no reason. And we're going to get into the reason why you would love someone unconditionally. And the reason for loving someone unconditionally is God. And that's what this book is about. God's love, the key to successful relationships. And we're going to expound upon that further. Let's continue reading. When we are in lust, we have certain preferences, criteria, if you will, for what we like in a person. However, when searching for the love of our lives, God intended for us to love unconditionally. Those potential people may fit a whole different set of criteria. In other words, for you to love someone unconditionally, God may very well attract you to someone who is without or outside your conditions for being attracted. So once again, we're talking about falling in love. This book is about all types of love relationships with your children, your mom, friends, relatives, and what have you. But it's also a book about loving your potential spouse, your soulmate. And when we're looking for that soulmate, we're looking to fall in love with someone who we're going to love unconditionally and someone that is going to love us unconditionally. Now, as we find ourselves in many relationships, most of them being lustful relationships, a lot of times when we fall in lustful relationships, we have a certain criteria, if you will, for being attracted to a person. They can be a certain complexion, a certain body type, a certain education or economic status, whatever. When we're lusting after people, we have all of these conditions upon which we're going to be attracted to someone. But when it comes to falling in love with someone, God may cause us to be connected to someone that we're not even attracted to for all of these lustful reasons. Why? Because we're going to be in love with that person unconditionally. Love that person outside or without conditions. Okay? Let's continue reading. This is why it is so important for you to know God and the way in which He guides you. Remember, God is love, and He's going to be the foundation of love in our lives and love for that potential spouse in our lives. If you have ever fallen in love, not lust, then you will probably get a picture of the type of people that you may potentially fall in love with. These are people you would have the type of love for that no matter what they did, you would still love them, which is unconditional love. I don't believe that the person you love should be criminal or continuously abusive in their response to your love. I do, however, believe that true love will cover a multitude of faults and go on loving that person until they're until they are healed from their sins and the issues that have caused them. Okay, so if we look in our past relationships, especially love relationships, take a moment of time. If you've ever felt like you've been in love, think back in the past in those relationships, those love relationships. If it's just one person, you can pretty much, to a certain degree, identify the type of people that you may fall in love with. That person could be, doesn't always have to be, but that person could be outside of your normal areas or criteria for being attracted to a person. Let's say normally when you're lusting after someone, you may be attracted to a person of high economic status. They're making a lot of money. But when you fell in love with someone, it was someone that was of less fortune. So as you can see, that when you're lusting for someone, you're gravitating to a certain type of person. But when you're falling in love with someone, you fell in love with someone that perhaps was different than that lustful criteria. Doesn't always have to be that way. But eventually, you're going to have to get to a point where you love that person unconditionally. Let's say you were the type of person you're attracted. Let's say you're a female and you're attracted to guys who are muscle bound and have a certain physical body type. But when you fell in love with someone who maybe was a little chunky or pudgy, okay, or they weren't as physically attractive. Now you can see that, okay, when you're lusting for someone, you have a certain criteria that you're following for lust. But when you fell in love, maybe once or twice, you notice that those people that you fell in love with weren't of that body type. They were of a different body type. They treated you a certain way. They have certain intellect or what have you. By looking in your past love relationships, perhaps you can get a certain criteria or type of person that you will gravitate when it comes to unconditional love. You'll gravitate toward these type of individuals. Okay, so when you're looking in your past love relationships, not lust relationships, you can see the type of people perhaps that you're going to fall in love with again in the future. Now, as you have identified that particular love relationship with that person or those people in your past, hopefully you can also identify that you were willing to sacrifice unconditionally, sacrificially give to that person and unconditionally love that person. Love that person unconditionally. Love that person beyond their faults. As you look back in those past love relationships, you saw how that person disappointed you. They did some things you didn't like. They maybe even hurt you. But you still were able to love that person beyond those faults. Okay? So that's important because in your future love relationships, you will be now empowered with the love of God. Through reading this book, going through these studies, you'll be empowered with the love of God in your life. Not just a love for that person. And when you do, you will be empowered further to love that person in the future whomever you fall in love with in the future or even a present relationship, being empowered and identifying God's love in your life, you'll be empowered to love that person beyond their faults to the point they will find healing in their lives to be able to hopefully live beyond those ways of disappointing you and hurting you. Okay, so that's very important. A lot of times in love relationships, person is hurting us. We're doing things that are wrong in the relationship, and it drains the relationship, causes the relationship to die, and we leave that person or we become separated from that person. But once you become empowered with the love of God in your life, you'll have that continual love and life source from God within to help sustain and replenish your relationship to the point where it can be healed and flourish. Okay, let's continue reading. Again, the source of our Again, the source of our unconditional love is God, not the person we love. Okay, so this is very important when we're getting back to identifying the love of God in our relationship. The foundation of and we're going to focus here on boyfriend, girlfriend relationships, dating relationships where you're considering someone to be your significant other, your spouse, someone you're going to love for the rest of your temporal life here in this earth. When you're considering these love relationships or this love relationship with this person that you are dating, you want to have in your heart and identify, now that you're getting this training, now that you're getting this teaching, you want to identify God's love in your life for that person. That is the foundation of your unconditional love for that person. It's not that person. Before reading this book, before going through these teachings, when you fell in love, you felt like the reason why you loved that person was that person. That's not the reason why you fall in love with someone. We have learned the reason why you fall in love with someone is because God has placed a love in you for that person. So God is the source. God is the foundation of your love for your significant other, for your spouse, for your boyfriend or girlfriend, for that person that you're considering to be your lifelong mate. Okay, so that's so very, very, very important that God is the one. You've identified that God is the reason why I'm in love with this person. God is the foundation of my love relationship with this person. God is the source of my regenerative, my replenishing, my perpetual love for that person. Okay, so that's very, very important for us to identify, and we'll see the reasons as we continue reading here. This then enables us to draw from His resources from within, not only from those who are outside of our being to deal with the ills in our relationships. Okay, so when we're in a love relationship with our significant other, and we've identified God's love in our lives for that person as being the source and the foundation of our love for that person. When an ill arises in our relationship, that person disappoints us, that person hurts us, that person is exhibiting addictive behaviors that are hurting our relationship, I now have an additional empowerment to deal with those ills in my relationship. It's not just me and that person. It's me, God, and that person. And so now I can draw from God, the God source in my being from within to deal with that relationship. Not only from the sources and resources that are outside of my being, that person, a counselor or someone else. I have God living in me that is replenishing my perpetual love for that person to help deal with that person and the ills in my relationship. It's just not that person or sources and resources that we have outside of my being. Let's say I was in a relationship. I'm in a relationship with a woman whom I'm in love with. Okay. And God is my source for my love relationship for that woman. Yet for whatever reason, let's say she has a self-esteem problem and she goes and spends all of the money in our bank account to make her feel better about herself. She has a problem. I have an ill. This creates an ill in our relationship. Okay? Well, because God is my love source in this relationship, I can continue to love this woman unconditionally. Yes, I had conditions. She was beautiful. She cooks well. She does great things. She's smart. She has a lot of things going on for her. And those conditions helped me fall in love with her, let's say. But now my love has grown beyond condition and I've loved her. I've fallen in love with her unconditionally. Now I love her because God has caused me to love her. And so now these conditions arise. Well, I'm not going to abort this relationship because of these conditions. Why? Because I love her beyond condition. I love her unconditionally. I love her no matter what she does. Why? Because my love is not based on her. My love is founded upon God in my life. God is the reason why I love her. God is the one who gave me the love for this woman. Okay? So now I can continue to love this woman beyond her conditions. Glory to God. It's such a powerful experience for us to be able to fall in love with someone beyond their conditions. And now I can love this woman continually, supporting her, giving to her in a sustained love relationship until she's healed beyond those self-esteem issues that are causing her to spend all of our money. Hopefully she can be healed. Whether it takes 1, 2, or 3 years, I can still love her. And we can make it through these tough times in this relationship until she's able to not go out and spend our money. We can go ahead and move on financially in our lives together. So we can take that example, change the criteria, if you will, to fit our own lives and past relationships and future relationships to see how God's love, now incorporated in our love relationships, can help us sustain a relationship even through tough and tempestuous times. Because unconditional love is based on loving someone for no reason or condition. Our only reason for loving that person is God. For He is the one who has caused us to love that person. The conditions that the person we love provides us mean very little then in comparison to our love for them, because our love for them was not based upon conditions in the first place. Therefore, our love for them will always flourish, refresh, replenish, and be perpetual because it is not based upon conditions, but is based upon the God who is continually expressing love to and through us. Okay? So it's important for us to receive this particular teaching as we receive the fact that when we, in our future love relationships or even a present love relationship, perhaps you're in a love relationship where you know you love someone unconditionally. When you learn that that love comes from God and not from that person, you can continually experience and enjoy your love for that person, even though they are disappointing you, acting out in ways that um, don't agree with you or are even hurting you. Okay? You can still love that person. Why? Because God is your source of love for that person. And even though that person may not be loving you correctly or reciprocating your love, God is reciprocating your love in that love relationship. It's not just you and that person in that love relationship. It's you, God, and that person in that love relationship. So even though that person may not be giving you love, God is giving you love. And in that relationship, the cycle, you are still benefiting, you are still receiving, your love is still being replenished on a perpetual basis. Even if it's not from that person, it's being done from God. And therefore, your love relationship will not die while that person is not fulfilling their side of the relationship. You can continue to love that person until that person is able to reciprocate that love for you once again. Okay? So that's very important for us to understand as we are growing in our love relationship with God, that His power, that His Spirit, that His goodness and His glory is in us in our love for that person. Very important for us to experience in our love relationships as it pertains to God's love being the key to our successful relationships. Hopefully, this particular teaching has been a blessing to you. I look forward to being with you in the next. Until then, may God richly bless you.